The United States government barreling toward a shutdown is where we begin the hour with Congresswoman Madeleine Dean. Congresswoman, our cameras caught you talking to Speaker Mike Johnson. Can you tell us about that conversation?
Yes, I implored the Speaker that he should have brought his members here so that if there were a chance to solve this without shutting the government down, we would have been able to do that. But in the absence of that, by him sending everybody home or on vacation, he effectively created a shutdown. When we had tried today in the pro forma to open up and to put legislation in, they shut it down. So Republicans have shut this down. But much more importantly, Nicolle, what I said to him is, you owe the American people honesty. He tried to argue to me this is a clean CR. Number one, my constituents don't care about a CR. They wonder why we are trying to do Band-Aid temporary stopgap government spending bills. And don't be fooled by the notion that it's clean. It is nothing but clean. It continues the deep cuts to health care, to Medicaid, to Medicare, to the ACA, to CDC, to NIH, to research, to SNAP. Sadly, do you know what the Speaker said? He was happy that people were going to be losing their health care. He thought they need to go off the rolls of Medicaid. I implored him. I said, that is not something to wish for. Your own constituents will be hurt by this, but much more importantly, tell the truth. I also asked him what he thought of the tweet last night after the meeting in the Oval Office with our leadership and Senate leadership, what he thought of the tweet that the president put forward with our leader in a sombrero, nodding, with a mustache, and Schumer saying things, of course, that he never said. The Speaker said that was not his style. I said, did you call it out? You should call it out for the racist, bigoted thing that it was. And he questioned whether or not it was racist.
Let me just drill down on that. Mike Johnson doesn't know if a picture of Leader Hakeem Jeffries donning a sombrero and a mustache is or is not racist?
I said that very thing. I said an African-American leader of the House donning a sombrero and mustache. You don't see the bigotry in that? You don't see the racism in that? That's a problem, Nicolle.
I mean, there's so many problems. I feel like we could talk about this for all of our time together, but I want to ask you to do something for me. I didn't work on the Hill, and I need sort of shutdown for dummies. Tell me why we're here and what paths exist right now to get out of it.
Well, and you don't need it for dummies. This place sometimes is more complicated than it really is. We're here because the Republican majority, remember, as you pointed out in your opener, the Republican majority, House, Senate, White House, has failed all year long to get through the floor 12 appropriations bills in order to get us a fully funded government. We did have 3. I'm newly on appropriations. It was a very dysfunctional set of committee hearings and markups with secretaries coming in not knowing what their numbers were, had no idea what they were talking about. But much more importantly, we were unable to do our constitutional duty, which is to fund the government. It's that simple. The Republicans are in control. They abdicated their Article 1 power of the purse, gave it over to the president, and now they're in a pickle. They're going to shut it down. But you know what? I think they wanted to shut it down all along. Why would you send your members home? Every Democrat is here. We're here to do our job. If there was a solving moment here, if there were adults coming to the table, wouldn't you want your members here to avoid the shutdown? They shut this down, and it didn't have to be this way. And who's going to get hurt? My constituents all across this country, most especially around their health care. Starting tomorrow, they're going to start to get notices on their ACA premiums and the changes to that. In my district alone, suburban Philadelphia, at least 20,000 people are at risk of losing their health care. Those are real people with real needs, and they are directly going to be hurt. The president wanted to shut this government down, I will tell you that. You saw what Russ Vought said. He's not talking about furloughing federal employees. He's talking about firing them. That's what this is all about.
I mean, I guess my question is, what are the negotiations about then, if this is what they wanted all along?
That's the problem. There haven't been negotiations. As you know, yesterday was the first Oval Office meeting The deal maker made no deal and then tweeted out that despicable thing late in the evening. I don't know what went wrong there. There were no negotiations. Let me give you a glimmer of hope. I just came from an appropriations meeting where in 3 subcommittees, there are 12 bills, 12 subcommittee bills that we have to deal with. In 3, Milcon, Defense, Leg Affairs, and Agriculture. There have been some conversations, some negotiations. That's 3 of 12, and that has nothing to do with tonight's deadline. The Republicans have failed to negotiate in good faith. They have a president who is unwell. I asked the Speaker about that. I said, did you see the performance in front of the generals today? He said he had not seen it. I said, the president is unwell. Somebody needs to talk to him.
What is the end game if what they wanted was the shutdown that it sounds like you believe they're going to get in 6 hours' time?
They're going to get it. I don't know what the end game is, except I believe they will finally feel pressure from their own constituents. Maybe they'll be ashamed that our military will be serving and waiting for their pay until the shutdown is over. Maybe they'll be ashamed that their own staff have to wait for their pay. Maybe they'll be ashamed that the Capitol Police officers who keep us safe every single day will have to wait for their pay. I hope some sense of shame and responsibility to run a government actually comes forward in some of these Republican members. But right now, with the leadership that they are under, we're in a very sorry state. Somewhere there'll be enough pressure, but in the meantime, my constituents are getting hurt. The faithful servants of our federal government are getting hurt. Air traffic controllers will continue to keep us safe. Our military will continue to keep us safe as we disrespect them and don't pay them on time.
Congresswoman, at HUD, a federal agency, I believe restricted by things like the Hatch Act. I know that doesn't get a lot of billing in Trump's Washington. But this is a banner on its website. Quote, the radical left are going to shut down the government and inflict massive pain on the American people unless they get their $1.5 trillion wish list of demands. The Trump administration wants to keep the government open for the American people. As you said, the Republicans aren't even there, and we all know that the Speaker's other title is White House Head of Leg Affairs. I mean, if Trump wanted them there to avert a shutdown, they'd be there. What do you do about the lies and disinformation about who's to blame for the shutdown?
Well, and I don't think people outside of here are concerned with who's to blame. As I told you, Republicans aren't here, so they effectively recognize they want a shutdown. People at home don't really care who's to blame. I think they're savvy enough to know that the Republicans have the trifecta. And when you have that, it's your duty to govern. If we don't agree, if Democrats don't agree with their deep cuts to health care, with their deep cuts to SNAP, with their deep cuts across all of our agencies, then they just need to get their bills passed with their majorities. It's on them. I know my constituents understand that, and they care less about the finger pointing, and they want us to function. We're now going on more than a year CR. It's no way to run a government. You could not and would not run a business this way. I was thinking of the Speaker sending folks home. Could you imagine if we were running a company and I said, we're in grave danger of going bankrupt. We have until September 30th to figure this out. But I want you all to just go home now. We'll just have to let it go. It's no way to run a small business, a medium business, a large business, a family, and certainly no way to run a government where you know that you are going to hurt people directly. But you've said this, I believe you've said it, it's been discussed on your show. This administration, the cruelty is the point.
Yeah. What do you think will happen in the coming days? I mean, do you think that negotiations will commence? I mean, who pays ICE? Do we think they'll continue to get paid? They seem important to Trump and the Republicans.
That's a great question. And I think of the military being sent to our streets, how absurd and dangerous is all of that. I don't know the answer on ICE. I can try to get that easily for you. What happens over the next few days, I'll tell you what Democrats are doing. Most of us are going to be here. Some of us will go back and forth to our districts to make sure that we are checking in and revealing the impacts in our districts. But we're going to be here this week. We are supposed to be in session, according to the Speaker, next Monday through Tuesday through Friday. So so I would suspect that at that time we'd have the chance to have some negotiations going on this week and over the weekend. You know that we have a new member, Ms. Grijalva, Representative-elect Grijalva, that we were hoping to swear in today. But you noticed how the pro forma session was closed as quickly as it was open, because they would not have wanted us to have a new member sworn in today.
Is that because they don't want the votes on releasing the Epstein files?
Yes, she will be the 218th vote that will force the Speaker and the Republicans to deal with the Epstein resolutions and the Epstein bill and the release of those documents. It's very strange. Maybe it isn't for this Republican Party. They recently swore in 2 of their newly elected members within a day or 2 of their election in a pro forma session. So don't listen to any of the nonsense. Oh, it's not regular order, anything like that. They didn't want a 218th signature on the Epstein files. You see the chaos everywhere.
Yeah.
We're trying to cover up here for the Epstein. We're trying to cover up here for the unhinged behavior of the president or of Mr. Hegseth. There's chaos everywhere.
Congresswoman, thank you so much for breaking it down for us and for indulging some of my ignorance about how a shutdown becomes a shutdown.
I hope I made any sense of what is really nonsensical here.
More clarity than I've had all week trying to understand it. Thank you so much.